You're listening to the SEO Mindset Podcast. Now, we are not your typical how to do SEO podcast. No, we are not. With the help of our guests, we cover those all-important topics around career development, personal growth, and mental health for those working in the SEO industry. You got to be working on your own internal algorithm. Like what we did there. So if you like the sound of our podcast and you think this is a bit of me, shall we crack on with this week's episode? AI was supposed to save us time. So why do so many of us feel more overwhelmed than ever? We use AI to answer questions, speed up workflows, and handle the tasks we find dull or time-consuming. The question is it actually making our lives and jobs easier, increasing our efficiency, or is it just quietly reshaping and basically getting in the way of our ability to think, connect, and build those invaluable skills? This week on the podcast, we have such a treat for you. Last week was Brighton SEO, and we teamed up with our buddy Jack and the Search With Candour podcast to do our usual live podcast recording the night before the conference kicked off. Now then, the beauty of a live podcast is the conversation that happened on the night was recorded, meaning if you couldn't attend, you don't miss out, as we'll be playing the episode for you right now, including the live Q&A session we had with the audience. It was such a great and insightful conversation, and I am so excited to share it with you. Before I do that, massive shout out to everyone who supported us, came along to the event and shared it with their friends, family and work colleagues. And of course, our sponsors who made the live podcast possible, including Systrix, Majestic, Sitebulb and Good Signals. Right, without further ado, shall we crack on?
Please welcome to the stage Tasman, Jack and Sarah for this live podcast collaboration.
Welcome to the SEO Mindset and the Search With Candour live podcast. Thank you. So, a bit of a swish new venue, isn't it? Yeah, thank you. Someone in the audience agrees. So this is our 8th live podcast.
I believe so, yeah.
8. And we can say we're international because we've also been in Barcelona as well. Yeah, thank you. Yes, come on, give us some
oohs and ahs.
Some ooh. So we have myself and Tasman from the SEO Mindset podcast. Tasman, tell us about our podcast.
Now, who doesn't know what the SEO Mindset podcast is all about? Silence, exactly.
I think I saw one hand.
Did you? One sheepish hand. Where is this sheepish hand? Oh, I can't see. Oh, okay. SEO Mindset podcast is basically the place to go if you want to progress your career and look after your well-being, because that's what we talk about. Fabulous.
And Jack from Search With Candour, tell us about your podcast.
Search With Candour is mostly SEO focused, but also branching out a bit of PPC, a bit of digital marketing, and I interview people across SEO and digital marketing every single week, including news recaps, interviews, live shows with you guys, and all other kinds of fun stuff. Comes out every Monday, and yeah, go and check it out. YouTube, Spotify, all that usual stuff.
Fabulous. I've just caught myself there, Tasman. Tasman's had a go at me for using fabulous too much.
Sarah's catchphrase is fabulous.
I can't get out of saying fabulous, but
we need to do a fabulous counter, like a little thing every time you say fabulous.
Stop saying fabulous, but I'm sitting in a fabulously pink chair. Like, how can I not say the word? Anyway, so we could not do this live podcast without our wonderful, wonderful sponsors. So first up, we have our gold sponsor, which is Systrix. So let's give a round of applause to Systrix.
Woo!
Now, we normally love putting Steve in the spotlight, because he usually comes on stage and shares wonderful data about the topic of the live podcast, because we're all SEOs. So we all love data, don't we? But instead of Steve, we have Jack, who's going to fill in.
Unfortunately, Steve got stopped because of his passport issues. I think
Yes,
he had.
yes.
Poor Steve. So can we get an "oh" for Steve Payne, please? Thank you. But thankfully, he did send us some data, and I've got it all here. So the topic of the podcast is the efficiency paradox and why AI might not actually be making your life easier. And Steve went through and had a few different topics and ideas and seeing what kind of things are ranking and what kind of related topics come up when you search for this sort of stuff. And Steve actually compared sort of raw SERP data, for want of a better phrase, compared to Gemini and AI-generated search data. So let's have a quick look at that. The efficiency paradox, search volume, only 10.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. Related topics include, and we were discussing this backstage, trying to Google what half these things mean. Socratic questioning and Socratic method with 3,950 search volume and 2,950 search volume. I'd never heard of either of these things, but apparently it's a method of exploring complex topics using open-ended questions, a specific way of asking questions and exploring topics. And then the next one down was Jevons paradox, which is a thing where if a resource becomes cheaper, then it becomes more abundant and more used, and then its cheapness increases its demand, and it becomes a kind of a paradox of like the demand versus the price and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where we're seeing a lot of the AI side of things, as kind of where we're going to be talking about answering a few different questions around that. Good question. Very difficult, considering I'd not heard of these things until earlier today. Of those top 10 URLs for these for the efficiency paradox, 4 of them were Wikipedia. So it seems to be quite a sort of defined topic. But the number one was a Harvard study, which is about is AI dulling our minds, which I'm sure we'll get into in a little bit as well.
Ooh, that's a nice little bit of intrigue teasing the audience there.
Indeed. And then through Gemini, Steve asked this question. I have to host a podcast about the efficiency paradox. Can you give me 16 related topics and 10 URLs I can use to research and guide our discussion? So do the podcast work for us, basically, which
So what
we'll
you're
get
saying
into.
is we don't even really need to be here.
I know, right? We've just been replaced by robots.
Damn it.
No, we haven't. Not yet, thankfully. But yeah, there is a couple of things. Jevons paradox ranks very highly here as well. There's something called the productivity J-curve, which is a similar kind of thing where you think productivity increases, but actually it goes down and it goes a little J shape there. The work slop phenomenon.
Please say that again.
The work slop phenomenon.
Now say that as many times as you can in a row.
There's also AI-induced burnout, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well, and cognitive offloading and skill atrophy were also related topics. The Harvard study, interestingly, also ranked number 1 in Gemini, and there were also studies from places like Psychology Today, Gartner, McKinsey. It was a lot more sort of business-focused. And Steve said something really interesting of looking at the raw SERP data, he felt like he learned more actually doing the research himself, which I think is something we're going to get into in this topic, rather than letting the AI kind of explain it to him. Actually clicking through and reading studies and looking at resources was actually helpful for his understanding. So yeah, you can go and use Systrix, get all of this kind of data. It's a great all-around tool for AI visibility, search visibility. Go to systrix.com, go and check those guys out. Go and follow Steve on LinkedIn. We'll put links in the show notes. We'll email you guys with all that information as well. So huge thank you to Systrix for sponsoring us, being our gold sponsor.
Woo! And round of applause for Jack with all those big words. Yes, I could not have done it. We also have the fabulous Majestic, who are our silver sponsors.
Woo!
Now, yeah, round of applause. So you will see in front of us that we have some books, and they're quite hefty, aren't they? There's a lot of knowledge in these books. So towards the end, we will do a Q&A. We call it Q&A. Sorry, let's just have a moment for Jack. Yeah.
But an excellent book model here. Yeah.
You are. Let's make you feel really awkward.
How can they get a copy of the book, Sarah? That's the question.
Oh, yes, sorry, I got you. Obviously, you sidetracked me and my brain went to other places. So we usually have a Q&A at the end of the podcast. We call it a Q&A, but it ends up being a sharing sort of space, doesn't it? People share their stories, experiences, all of that lovely stuff. So if you are brave enough and want to ask a question, say your thoughts, you get a book for doing so, which I think is pretty good going. And it's the SEO in 2026. So me and Jack, we're in the book.
There's 117 tips from SEO experts across the industry and across the world. It is quite the book.
Fabulous book. So thank you very much. And then we also have Sitebulb and Good Signals, who are our bronze sponsors.
Woo!
So massive thank you to all of our sponsors. Now, all of our sponsors that we have tonight, it's not their first time. It's not their first rodeo. So every time they come back, we're very, very appreciative of that. Because we wouldn't be sat here. You wouldn't have been eating pizza, getting a free drink, all of that lovely stuff. So massive, massive thanks to all of our sponsors. I think that's all the admin done. Do we reckon?
Let's get stuck in, shall we?
Should we get cracking?
Yeah, definitely.
So we're talking about the efficiency paradox. So how AI isn't making our lives easier. So the whole idea is AI is meant to be making our lives much more easier, more efficient, but somehow and for some reason it's not. There's overwhelm, it's causing us stress. And that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. Now, I want to get a vibe from the room. So give us a cheer if you are a fan of AI and use AI. Okay. A few people.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the right question.
What do you mean?
If you're a fan of AI or use AI.
Should I have separated it?
Some people maybe use it, but not.
Using it against their will, perhaps. At the mandate of C-suite people demanding them to use AI.
Okay, so give me a cheer now if you avoid it like the plague. Oh, okay, we've got a strong
very definitive
candidate there, yeah. Because what I find really interesting is when you talk about AI, it's a bit like Marmite, isn't it? And it is, because either people love it and they want to use it all the time, or you have people that are like, nah, not for me, I'm not going to use it. So it's quite interesting. I mean, you guys, what are your thoughts on AI?
So the title of the talk, as you said, was It's Meant to Help Us and Why We're Feeling So Overwhelmed. And take a step back, the people who are funding it, they're businessmen who want to run successful businesses. I'm pretty sure your overwhelm level is not one of the KPIs that they're worrying about. They're not interested in how happy you are. What they're interested in is, are you using it? And they want you to use it, and they want you to use it a lot. So when I think about this in general, does it make life easier? Yes. We've never been so more productive. We can churn stuff out. Then where is the overwhelm? The overwhelm for me is coming from partly how disconnected we are from each other, how much we are able to produce, how there never seems to be a closed sign on AI. You just keep on at it. How tired we then get to feel, how little we get to rest, and we've just seemed to think that that's okay. And for me, that's not okay. So do I use it? Yes. Do I see places where I enjoy using it? Yes. Do I love it? No.
Well, we had an interesting conversation earlier, and you were saying you blamed AI for stopping you from going out for your walks.
So what would happen was, if there was a problem I was trying to solve, and AI is just getting really chatty now, can't seem to say, here's the answer. And I get
the classic thing from ChatGPT was like, great question, Tasman. You are so smart for using ChatGPT. Yeah. Aren't you just the best?
No, It's
very
not saying,
patronising
that's
sometimes.
a really interesting angle.
See?
What about
Yeah.
this angle?
It's
no,
patronising.
Stick to the angle I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about your angle. I want to talk about this angle. I want to get it done by 5 o'clock so I can go for a walk. But oh no, it just gives me other roads. And then before you know it, walk time. I mean, now the clocks have changed. I've got more opportunity for a walk. But
Oh, I feel for you, Tasmin. I really do. I really do. Jack, what's your thoughts on this overwhelm and AI is meant to be making things easier?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of feel the pressure to use AI more because I feel like it's such a talking point in our industry. And obviously, hosting podcasts, going to conferences, having these kind of conversations, there's almost a joke on Search With Candour of like, how long can we go without saying the word LLM or AI? And it turns into this kind of like, okay, we made it 3 minutes into the podcast, a new record. It's just unbelievable how often it comes up, but to the point where like my parents, who are completely non-technology, they're former nurses, like retired nurses, nothing to do with digital marketing. They're asking me like, oh, what about this AI thing? How does that work? How does that all happen? Like, honestly, I don't have the time to explain it to you both. Like, do you have a weekend where I can just sit down and just offload all of this information? And I feel like I'm quite techie. I'm trying to keep up with like, you know, the latest phone, the latest technology, all that kind of stuff. I feel like I should be keeping more up to date with it than I am. I know the classic filter of social media, right? You see everybody doing their cool things and their success stories and, oh, they're doing this cool thing with AI or this cool thing with AI. I'm like, should I be doing more with AI? I feel that kind of pressure there. But I feel like I don't use it anywhere near as much as a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my peers. I don't know. And whether that's SEO, marketing, podcasting, daily stuff, as you were saying there as well, Tasmin, like there's almost this constant like conversation you feel like you should be having with NL. I know people use it for therapy and stuff as well, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
How about you, Sarah?
Thank you for asking me the question, Jack. So I do use AI, but I'm always quite divided on it. And I always, not that I feel bad, but there's another side of the overwhelm, or there's the other side of these feelings, because we all know that it's not very good for the environment. So you've got that element. You've also got scaremongering, haven't you, with, oh my gosh, AI is going to take everyone's jobs, and you've got that whole side of things. And then part of me is like, well, if I'm using AI, am I just feeding into that problem? Am I allowing it to take over my job? So I think I agree a lot with what you guys are saying, of there's the pressure, more expectations, like you get hooked as well, don't you? Because Tasmin, you're saying that Chatty Cathy comes to my brain. Who's Chatty Cathy? That should be an LLM, shouldn't it? But you were saying that it's very conversational, so it hooks you in as well. So it's no wonder that we're feeling this overwhelm, because even before the rise of these AI, whether you're using Copilot, whether you're using Claude, life was already overwhelming with all the different apps and all the other things that you had to use. So it just feels like as technology and more things are introduced, life just gets a bit more overwhelming, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a real pressure from the marketing side of things, like I said, and also I feel it in podcasting. Like, I know you're very active in the podcasting community as well, Sarah. Like, little things where I use it, like, oh, to create the timestamps in the show notes, can you transcribe this episode for me, and all that kind of stuff. That used to be done by humans, then kind of an automated process that's now being done by LLMs. Is it better? Is it more accurate? Like, should you be, like you said, is it stealing, transcribers' jobs, translators' jobs, all that kind of stuff? I do worry about that. Like you said, I think there's a lot of scaremongering as well of like, oh, it's going to take all of our jobs. I don't think it's as simple as that, but it's taking away those little elements that allow you to learn a job from scratch, right? What Steve mentioned in the data is like, oh, I found I learned more by manually researching rather than the AI just telling me the answers.
So to lead on to the next question and the next topic that we want to cover, so it's around our expectation of AI and our actual experience of using it. So going to you, Tasmin, what are your thoughts on that?
So, like I said, I was hoping for succinct answers, and it doesn't. I now have to say, answer this question in 20 words or less, and do not ask me another question. Just answer this one.
No conversations.
I do not need to chat. I have a family. I can talk to them. Just answer. I think also you expect it to just give you facts, and if it doesn't know, to say, I don't know. And it seems unable to say, I don't know.
They're very ready to say, yes, I know to everything, right?
Yeah. And I was looking for some information about a particular coach, and I knew it was a woman, and it said, oh, yes, Charlie, he has done blah, blah, blah. And I said, I think you'll find Charlie is a woman. And it said, I think you'll find it's a man. I said, so it does feel like you're having to go through rearing a teenager all over again, and I thought I was done with that.
Which one are you using? Because yours sounds very sassy.
Very sassy.
We're going to name and shame the sassiest GPTs.
But what really took me by surprise, so this year during Ramadan, I thought it would be a good idea to run almost like a spiritual, motivational WhatsApp group for a group of women. And when they joined, I asked them, what is it that you want from this group? And somebody said, want some motivational lines from the Quran. Somebody said mindfulness. Somebody said easy actions that I can start doing straight away. So I started feeding all of this in and said, let's talk about gratitude and charity and blah, blah, blah. And we came up with 30 lines I could use each day. And then obviously it didn't happen in 2 minutes, but I was able each day to post a line, some transliteration, some translation, an element of mindfulness related to it, an action related to it. And I thought that would have taken me forever. And people were coming up to me saying, do you sleep? Like, this is amazing.
So were you truthful?
No, well, I told them. It was the month of not lying.
All the other months you can lie as much as you like.
I'm just
It's fine.
thinking, yeah.
You can perhaps not say everything.
Bend the truth slightly. And I think that's the key thing here, isn't it? Is knowing what AI can do and what it can't do. It is a tool at the end of the day. So I used AI to help me with the pizzas tonight. Because I was getting very overwhelmed knowing how many gluten-free, how many vegan, how many vegetarian, how many meat. So I went to Claude. Claude is my chosen AI tool of choice. And I fed it in the data because obviously we send out a form asking people's requirements. I also gave feedback because apparently we didn't have enough meat pizzas. Did we have enough meat pizzas this time? Yeah, okay.
Well,
so
one person said
AI,
yes, that's good.
AI worked. So, yeah, I think it's about understanding it's a tool. It's not a replacement. So, to my understanding, it can't actually think, can it? It's just regurgitating what it can find out there on the internet. Now, what's quite interesting, Jack, is when you came on the SEO Mindset podcast, you got a bit nerdy, didn't you?
I had a big rant about artificial intelligence.
Well, yes,
yeah,
because you were saying it's labelled wrong or it's spoken about wrong.
Yeah, the fact that we call this AI is kind of a misnomer, I feel like. A lot of us take the large language model, like predictive stuff, and the kind of like colloquial term is like, it's predictive text on steroids or whatever. It's like, kind of, yeah. It's just taking from other sources and pulling from other resources. And obviously, us as marketers and SEOs, we can manipulate what it is pulling from, as we have done for Google searches for a couple of decades now. But I think people think of it as, like I said, they use it as a therapist. A friend of mine who works for a fitness company, his head of department was saying, oh, I use it for all of my legal advice, all of my medical advice, all this kind of stuff. I was like, that's incredibly dangerous, dude. Are you sure about that? Like, he's a CEO of like a multinational $1 million company, and he's just like, yeah, I'll use a random thing for legal advice. I'm like, you know, it has hallucinations. You should probably be checking if that's correct. But I think people are so sort of like caught in the tech bubble, caught up in the hype and, like we said, the overwhelm, the pressure to use this kind of stuff. You don't actually kind of analyze what the technology actually is. And there's a couple of brilliant, I know Dawn Anderson, who's out in the crowd here somewhere, shout out to Dawn, has done some brilliant talks breaking down how LLMs actually work and going through, machine learning and all that kind of stuff. That is really interesting for me. And I feel like we should have more of an education about the technology we're using so we understand how to use it correctly rather than just relying on it for, this is now my lawyer and my doctor and my therapist. Like, maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe you should leave that to people who have studied those things for years and have qualifications and things. And I feel like, we kind of use this AI term a bit too broadly for my taste. And again, maybe I'm being a bit of a sci-fi nerd, but I think using LLMs feels more appropriate, but AI is the term most people tend to gravitate towards anyway.
It's easier to say AI, LLM,
exactly,
LLM, all of that stuff, isn't it?
Sorry.
I need to stay on track. We could turn it into a musical. And
that's in the other studio, I think, isn't it? That's the drag show.
There is drag show, but we don't want to tell people because they might go across. Afterwards. And I suppose it's about knowing that you said that AI, LLMs can hallucinate. I remember seeing a post on LinkedIn where there was a company that was taking data from whatever tool they were using, and they were basing big decisions, business decisions, based on the data that was coming back. And someone in the company found that the tool was just making up this data.
There was a case in the US of a lawyer using I think it was a domestic case where it was like a dispute between like neighbors or something like that about a land dispute. And one of the lawyers used a case that doesn't exist as a reference. Oh, it's McDowell versus Chambers Ward 2022. Is like, that doesn't exist. That's not a real legal case. That just made that up, put some reasonable sounding names together and was like, yeah, sure, that's probably it. He then used that in court, and the other lawyer was like, hold on a minute, that's not a thing. Can we call this? Have you just been using ChatGPT to do all of your legal work? Like, yeah, and the guy, I don't know if he got disbarred or anything like that, but there was a huge disciplinary hearing and stuff like that. It is kind of terrifying. Like you said, people making these big business decisions, big legal decisions, medical decisions with this kind of stuff.
Well, we're saying, aren't we, that it's kind of making us think less and rely on it more because we're not even questioning it. We're not even being curious. We're just taking it for verbatim what the tool is spitting back at us. Tasmin, what's your thoughts on that?
So whether we're thinking about it or whether it's making us de-skilling ourselves.
So do you think it is making us think less, and are we relying on it more?
So if you think about what is it that you do, for example, if you are going to use it to generate content, for example, its job is to create the content. For it to do it well, your job is to write decent prompts. So you're going to get skilled in writing decent prompts and de-skilled in creating the content. It's not rocket science. It reminds me of bread machines. Anybody got a bread machine? Right?
We had a woo with the
one
audience.
person, one's got a bread machine.
Can't you make ice cream in a bread machine?
I do not know. But it's
That's
really
an
hard.
ice cream maker, mate. That's a different thing.
No, but wait. Sorry, carry on.
I don't know how, because one would heat something up and the other one...
Hang on, I think it's an air fryer. I think you can do ice cream in an air fryer.
That's also
completely
a heating.
derailing the conversation.
This is the after show. What can you make in an air fryer?
I mean, I was segueing with bread machine. You've just taken it off track completely.
Sorry. So bread machines.
But suddenly there was a machine that you could just chuck the ingredients in and it would do the kneading and it would create the bread. And sometimes it wasn't, well, mostly it wasn't very good bread anyway. So are you going to get better at making bread? No. You're just going to get better at pressing a button.
But you're more efficient, right?
Yeah, more efficient.
Yeah.
And then you got bad bread. So then you're overwhelmed. And then you have to give it to the charity shop. But really think about what is it that you are using it for. And if you want to stay skilled in that thing, then you need to do the thing. You're not going to get skilled in that thing by asking somebody else or something else to finish that job for you.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of studies around internet usage. They haven't been updated for LLMs yet, but the way we use the internet is changing, especially how children are using it in schools, students are using it in schools. The way we memorize and remember information, you remember how to look things up rather than to actually process the information. So like you were saying there, Tasman, you remember how to do the prompt or how to do the search rather than actually, how do you make bread? You type in, how do I need to word this thing to get what prompt do I need to slightly tweak or twist or whatever? And there is, the study of like children's memories across generations has shifted with the more we use internet and the less we use like literal textbooks and reading through, and it doesn't do the maths for you or whatever. And I think for me there is, pardon my French, enshittification is the phrase that has been used for exactly what you were saying there, Tasman. You get, okay, cool, we can make loads more bread much more quickly, but it's crap bread. So is that still worth doing? If you can make 10 rubbish loaves of bread compared to 2 really good loaves of bread, and then also, you can sell that, as I mentioned there, the Jevons paradox earlier, we're like, okay, that resource becomes more available, so there's more demand for it, and it's cheaper, and okay, then you then monetize it more, it then becomes worse for the consumer, and sure, we're marketers here, we're business owners, all that kind of stuff, but we're also users, consumers, customers, and that drop in quality of product because you can just churn things out, exactly as you said there, Tasman, like you can just churn out content, well then the overall quality of the content drops, and then the whole other conversation of the Ouroboros of the LLM training data training off of itself making rubbish content, then training itself on that rubbish content, and you're just getting this weird circle of crap, basically.
Yes, circle of doom, really,
exactly.
Isn't it? And I think the key thing here is efficiency, isn't it? Because I see the argument of why you'd want to become more efficient, and I think if you look back on the history of humans, we have got more and more efficient as we've come on, but like we're saying here, there's the trade-off. Like, efficiency works, but is it hindering what's coming out? Is it hindering the content that's coming out? Is it hindering what it's doing to the planet? Is it hindering what it's doing to us? But I think the real danger is if we can see efficiency, we're then not going to not take that shortcut. I mean, I've tried to boycott Amazon so many times, but they're just too efficient. Like if you
need something delivered the next day, where else are you going to go?
Yes, exactly. And I remember, so going back to your bread making machine, I mean, it's up to debate whether you can make ice cream from it or not, but everyone's going to be looking into that later. But I remember my mum and dad using a map to get around. Yes. So say we were going on holiday somewhere or we were going somewhere new in the UK, they would have to look at the map and then they have to work out together the journey. They'd have to remember the route. Obviously, there was a few arguments because, and then I remember when I started driving, it wasn't quite at sat-navs, but does anyone remember AA Route Finder?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yes. So it would print you out steps, wouldn't it, of first do this, first do that. My sister got into it wasn't a massive, but she got into a little car crash because she had her instructions down in front of her and she's driving.
Oh, God.
You can see where this is going wrong.
So my dad had printed off Google Map directions a couple of times and ended up sellotaping them to the steering wheel. I was like, you could you do that on your phone. You've got a built-in sat-nav, just do that. It's like, yeah.
He likes his way.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I remember, so before the maps that came onto our phone, we had TomToms. What are the brands? All I can remember...
Garmin and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah.
You're saying we're not sponsored by these. You're just naming all the different brands just in case.
But I think the point here is you can see in that instance how technology or a tool has made us more efficient. Because, yes, I understand that you're losing some skills. Do you call it orienteering? Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
DFE.
DFE?
No, DFE, Duke of Edinburgh Award.
Oh, are you a DFE?
No.
Do we have any DOVs? Oh, we have
Hey,
some
there we go,
DOVs.
there we go.
Is that the first time you've been asked if you've got a DOV?
Yes,
in this?
finally, someone asked me in a
Yes!
public space.
Woo!
Bronze, silver, or gold?
Oh,
Oh, there we go. Round of applause, all three. Triple DOV, there we go.
this conversation's going in lots of lovely, wonderful ways, isn't it? And I've forgotten my very first point that I started with.
Well, to piggyback off of your route finding side of things, Sarah,
Yes.
there was another study with London cab drivers who are not allowed to use sat-navs. They have to learn the proper routes and learn where to go. And obviously, anyone who's driven in London, I did it earlier when we went to WTS Fest earlier this year in London. Driving in London is an absolute nightmare. And learning all the different routes and all the things, they did some tests and experiments with different cab drivers from around the country and also a control group of non-cab driving, but also normal drivers, essentially. And cab drivers from London who had to learn the routes, their memory was significantly better long-term. They had lower rates of things like dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that. It's literally keeping that neuroplasticity going. And it's stuff like that where I kind of find that terrifying. Where, like you said, our parents' generation or the previous generations were just like, you just had to know where to go. You get the fold-out map and hopefully it's this big OS thing and, there's your partner or your sibling next to you trying to work out where you're going. Now it's just like, go there, 3 hours, 25 minutes. Is there traffic? It'll tell you. All that kind of stuff.
It's just so easy, isn't it? And I'm even thinking back to when I went to university. So I was in university, I think it was like 2009 to 2012. And it was thinking back to when you had to research. Obviously, had access to the internet, had a laptop and stuff, but people were still going to the library. People were still getting books and stuff. So I think the danger is there's always going to be a trade-off. Yes, you're going to become more efficient, but what skill are you going to lose? And that's the tricky point, isn't it?
I think there is always a cost. Anytime that you get something very easily, there will be a cost. And for me, the most worrying cost is the decline in human interaction. So if you're working on a project and you're using AI, it's not even like group work, because even if it's a group of two, there will be challenges, there will be difference of opinions, there will be difference of character, and you learn so much through that. Whereas AI teams eroding, the ability to work with other people eroding, sometimes even trusting yourself, even that's eroding.
Well, we had a situation earlier, didn't we, Tasman, with the labelling?
Do you want to tell the story?
Oh, you could tell the story. You had a little giggle there.
So Sarah was wondering how to write down that there was a risk of cross-contamination on one of the pizzas. And she said, let me ask Claude. I said, no, you can do this yourself.
Write the bloody label, Sarah. You'll be fine. Get your pen out. It's a piece of paper, for God's sake.
You do not need to ask Claude how to phrase this. You're perfectly capable of doing this on your own.
You said the answer in the question was like, how do I tell people there's a chance of cross-contamination? It's like,
exactly.
Write that on the paper, Sarah. Sorry, there is a chance of cross-contamination. Like,
It's very stressful organising events. There's just so much.
we're
in the
learning that
brain.
pizzas are the most stressful part of this. You're fine being on stage in front of people and
Next
organising this whole
time, no
thing.
pizza.
Oh.
No pizza.
Don't say that, because then people would come.
But we need to spend time with each other. We need to interact with each other. We learn so much. We gain so much. We've never been so efficient, but we've probably never been so disconnected from each other. Lonely. And yet again, society is rewarding us for efficiency, but ignoring what we are losing. And what we're losing is this decline in interaction with each other, and that's really, really scary.
It is really sad, and it's where my brain just went there quickly was someone pointed out to me that I rate how good a day is on how productive I've been. Does anyone else do that?
We have to talk, Sarah.
I don't know if you heard Tasman go, ooh, in the corner there. Yeah. Dangerous.
I'm sorry, Tasman.
Do you know what? Bizarrely, increasingly now, I rate how good a day is, especially like my weekends used to be, oh yes, I did the gardening and then I made all this bread and I did this and I did that.
Hang on,
now,
are you making bread or the
machines.
bread maker?
No, flatbreads. I
There
do
you
it
go.
old school.
There you go.
Now I think actually, and I said to my husband, I'm not going to do anything this weekend, and I will rate that as a productive weekend.
It's
like doing nothing.
it's so hard.
Rest
It
is
isn't.
needed. Rest is productive.
Is needed.
I tell my brain that because I don't know whether it's how I've been like wired. I mean, yeah, we'll talk after.
I mean, us working in marketing, right? I think the vast majority of people here, and I know the three of us have worked in different roles across marketing, and there's a real kind of performance-driven, KPI-driven, goal-driven element to this, right? So, like you said, the more work you do, the better you feel. Oh, I did 15 out of my list of 20 tasks, or, you know, I optimized this many articles, or whatever it is. You feel like that is, you know, the goal you set for yourself. But is efficiency actually the goal we should be striving for? I think what you mentioned earlier, Tasmin, was like, yeah, sure, these companies want more things to be made faster and faster and faster. But I take something like an industry I pay close attention, which is video games, which has been affected massively by AI, as you can probably imagine. Lots of layoffs, lots of issues. And there was a quote from, I think it was one of the CEOs of one of the big game company called EA. And he was saying, oh, we need to be able, through AI, we can make so many games so much faster and all this kind of stuff. And the whole, like, every consumer is saying, we don't need more games. None of us have any time to do anything anymore. I have a backlog of like 150 games. I listen to like new music. I have millions of podcasts to catch up. I've got books to read. I don't need more stuff. I need like fewer like good things, not lots of slop. And it feels like a lot of these big companies just kind of, well, if we make more stuff, then we can sell more stuff. We just make more stuff, it becomes more efficient. But actually, I go out of my way a lot of the time to buy from smaller brands, get handmade stuff, all that kind of thing, go to boutique little shops and do all that kind of stuff, buy things like records and vinyl instead of streaming, so I can get that.
Do you have a record player?
Absolutely, I do. Okay. Yeah, well, I wouldn't just buy records and just look at them.
Very true. Okay, fair.
I mean, so, you mount them on the wall. There's nice artwork and stuff.
You could use it as a placemat.
That's very expensive. How big are your placemats? Like big square. Anyway, but yeah, like for me, that has been a conscious decision to try and sort of like narrow down, enjoy fewer, higher quality things rather than lots of crap, basically.
Most marketing teams are still optimizing for clicks, but the way people discover brands has already changed. Today, decisions are happening inside AI platforms like ChatGPT, Google's AI Overviews, and Gemini, where there's no ranking page, no 10 blue links, and often no click at all. So the question becomes, is your brand showing up where decisions are being made? At Previsible, we help companies answer that question and, more importantly, act on it. We work with growth teams to understand their visibility across AI platforms, identify where they've been cited or ignored, and build strategies across content, technical SEO, and authority to actually move that presence. Because this isn't just about traffic anymore, it's about influence. If you want to understand how your brand shows up in AI-driven search and where the opportunities are, you can get a clear view in just a few minutes. Go to previsible.io. That's previsible.io to get started.
Hi, Tasmin here. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Be more visible, earn more, but also take care of your well-being and have work-life harmony? Well, I can help you because I'm offering you a free 30-minute consultancy call. Together we can go through where you want to be and how to get there. Simply click on the link in the show notes, fill in a form, and I'll get back to you.
So it's very interesting we're talking about this, about feeling lonely, feeling disconnected, because I've got some data to share. So Indeed conducted a survey of over 1,000 workers in Australia, and they wanted to find out about their use of AI in their jobs. And they found that many are using AI tools such as ChatGPT instead of interacting with their colleagues. The survey found that of those using AI in their job, 40% did so in order to not interact with their colleagues. And nearly, I mean, there's always that one colleague, isn't there? And I think I'm that colleague. But anyway.
Aren't you a freelancer?
I am freelance. That's probably why. And nearly a third of the respondents trusted AI over their own co-workers. So that's really interesting. So they're going to Claude, Copilot, ChatGPT, so they don't have to interact. And they're trusting AI over their co-workers. Now, co-workers could have been working in the industry for however long. They've got actual experience. They've got actual life skills, you know what I mean? But like, doesn't that just, those stats blow your mind?
So they're avoiding interacting with people because
40%.
Perhaps they would have to learn how to be more patient. Perhaps they would have to learn how to be empathetic or navigate a conversation. Perhaps all of those things would help them become better at being them. And that's scary.
I think you've just come on to another point as well about frictionless, because we alluded to it earlier, didn't we? That whenever you go to a chat, AI, whatever you're using, they always like, oh, great question. That's a great idea. You should go and do that. Whatever you think, Sarah, you're going to rule the world. Go for it. But that's another element. When you have human relationships, friendships, whether that's at work, whether that's in your personal life, romantic relationships, whatever it is not going to be frictionless because humans are messy. Humans are going to disagree. Jack might say something that he thinks is very true that I'm like, Jack, what you on about? And sorry, like obviously fountain of knowledge, I respect everything.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. But I think another point here is the frictionless. And that's another reason why maybe, so like you said, Tasman, people are going to AI because they're not wanting to have that conversation with their coworker.
Yeah, I think that's a phrase I've heard a lot when it comes to AI search as well, when it comes to ChatGPT search, AI mode, all this kind of stuff. Oh, it's a frictionless way to gain the information. You know, in theory, that is nice for us as customers, as consumers, to get the information as quickly as possible. But as Steve alluded to, as you've mentioned, Tasman, as you just mentioned there, Sarah, like that friction is where you actually learn a lot of stuff, where you actually learn skills that you might not have planned to learn. Oh, I learned to be more empathetic. Oh, I learned to understand somebody else's perspective. Me having that conversation in the office or, you know, on Slack or whatever it is with your colleague rather than going to an LLM means like, oh, I never would have thought of that option. That's crazy. Like I spoke to a developer in our agency and they said this. I was like, huh, I would never have thought to do it that, you know, do the JavaScript that way instead of that way. It's like, I would have never, I'm not very techie, but that's a really clever idea. Let's do that instead. Whereas if you go to, as you were saying earlier, Sarah, like 40% of people trying to avoid that, there might be some friction there of like, oh, we've already done, you know, we've already built the website in this way. Maybe we should have done it that way. It's like, well, that's a learning thing for you rather than, yeah, that's a great idea. Well done, Jack. What a great way to build that website. You're the best at JavaScript. Spoiler alert, I'm not a tech SEO at all. But there's that real kind of benefit to friction. I feel like the friction is important as part of the learning process, as part of being able to, as you said, Sarah, like have relationships with people, have conversations, and to learn things. If you put more effort into learning something, so for example, writing something down or explaining it to another person, I know I keep coming back to memory studies, but that is a proven thing that helps you remember things better. If you just read a thing and then move on, you don't remember it as well as if you write it down. Even better if you write it down by hand. It is provable that if you write it with pen and paper rather than typing, it sticks around in your memory more, which seems weird, seems ridiculous, seems almost counterintuitive. And then the next stage of that is teaching other people. It is a phrase of like, you learn something when you study it and then you learn it again when you teach it. And talking to colleagues, you know, the three of us being a perfect example here of like, who would imagine the three of us would be sat on stage our different backgrounds, our different experiences, but the three of us all come together with very different ideas, different topics, and we come with different perspectives, like, what should we do for the next live podcast? And Tasman will have an idea, and I'll have an idea, and Sarah will have an idea. We're like, well, let's hash it out. Let's all sit down together, have a conversation, and work out what makes the most sense for us, because Sarah's doing a lot of podcasting and running a studio, and Tasman's doing coaching, and I'm doing events organizing and marketing and all this other stuff. We've got so many different things going on. Us actually coming together and like, oh, actually, yeah, I would have never thought of that topic that Tasman suggested, but I really like that. Let's go with that one. And then Sarah was like, oh, yeah, how about we do this? I was like, I would have never thought of that as well. But I wouldn't have got to that myself if it was just three Jacks on stage, God forbid. We would not have the same dynamic where we can have these kind of conversations and these different perspectives.
It's very true. It's very true. And also, it's okay to disagree with other people. It's okay to have alternative opinions. It's okay to tackle the same problem in different ways.
Have you been on social media recently, Sarah? Is that... Having different opinions on social media is quite difficult.
Well, yes, very true, very true. But it's, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I just worry that if we rely on it too much and we lose the skills, we're not talking to people, we're not having conversations, we're not learning from each other. It's just, it's a bit of a scary place. You're nodding your head there, Tasman.
I totally agree. And imagine if you wanted to ask your manager for a pay rise and you go to AI and said, I want to ask my manager for a pay rise. And it says, oh, do these things, blah, 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 blah. And then you go and you've got all of the information. You feel so confident because you know what? Chat said it's all going to be fine. And then manager says, no, there's no budget or there's this. And you don't know what to do because that option wasn't on your card that you took into that meeting. Whereas Sarah and I, believe it or not, we've disagreed about things in the past.
I would never disagree with you, Tasman.
But we've done it in a way where we've expressed what we wanted to express respectfully, decently, and come up with a solution and ended up saying things like, really appreciate you, Sarah, really appreciate you, Tasman. And that's part of life.
Yeah, and I suppose it's about, so again, with this no friction and AI being like, okay, you've got this, it's gonna happen for you. You've got to, in real world life, is there a better way of saying that? In real life, yeah. I just need real life, not the world bit. In real life, things aren't always going to go to plan, are they? Things are going to go wrong. And I think people, you should embrace failure. And the reason why you should embrace failure or not be afraid of failure, because it's always a lesson. You can always learn from it. So if there's a hot pan, you touch it and you burn yourself, you learn very quickly not to do it again. And life is just a lot of those sort of tests, isn't it? Lots of those obstacles, lots of those hurdles. But the world is friction. You are going to come into obstacles. Things aren't going to go your way, or things aren't going to go as you expected them to be, but that's okay. That's just life, isn't it? Is there anything else that we want to talk about when we're talking about sort of skills, connection, or people, or do we think we've covered the main?
I think one thing look, it's here. It's not going away. We are where we are. I think for me, it's about taking ownership of how you want to live your life and taking ownership of how you want to work. And if you think about where you have learnt your best lessons, where have they been? Has it been from a colleague? Is it from a mentor? Is it from talking to somebody at a conference? Is it from being part of a community? It's probably not from AI. So wherever it has been from, embrace that more. And you can choose, and when I say this, even though I said there's no close sign on AI, I have to say, that's enough for today. I'm going to go for my walk. Or also finding ways where if I'm going to be as disconnected as I am from other people during my work, and work for myself, so a lot of my time is on my own, how am I then going to counterbalance that, making sure that I have connections with friends and family, with peers, with charities, whatever it is, and make sure that that part of my social health is covered, because this is work, and work isn't life. Life is for living.
I mean, we should just leave the podcast on that note, shouldn't we? Life is for living. And it's so true, isn't it? And it's just that reminder that we are more than work. We are more than productivity. We are more than what... We all have our own passions. We all have our thoughts and feelings. I am not just on this planet to create or do or produce, right? There's other meanings of life. Getting a bit deep and philosophical, and I just ruined it. Moving on to you, Jack. What would be one reflection that you want people to take away?
That efficiency isn't the be-all and end-all. Like, actually producing quality stuff and taking the time to research it, learn it, and actually upskill yourself is still hugely valuable, and I think will continue to be valuable. Sure, AI has shifted a lot of the way we do our jobs, the way we live our lives, but skilled people were always going to be better than the technology that is referencing them, right? I think when you go to conferences like brightonSEO, like having these kind of networking and meetup events where you get to have conversations with other people and learn from your peers, your colleagues, your friends, that is where a lot of the real great ideas come from, rather than, like you said with the study from Indeed earlier, Sarah, like rather than not talking to people and just kind of going off in your own little corner and doing your little thing. Seek out friction, push yourself into directions, have a conversation with somebody who disagrees with you, purposefully go and talk to them about the thing. Granted, that's a big thing to do on social media about politics and all that kind of thing, but having a conversation with somebody who comes from a completely different background, completely different part of the industry, whatever it is, I, as a SEO, I would go and talk to PPC people about how are you feeling about the state of Google at the moment or whatever. And they would have a completely different perspective. Like, oh yeah, okay, I can see how that relates to me and this, and I've learned from that, and I can adapt that into my skill set. So seek out friction and do your research. Be skeptical about things and be curious.
Be curious is a good one. I saw that you reached for your microphone there, Tasman. Is there something? You're going to have to say something now, anything. Now, I suppose my biggest takeaway is just remembering that AI is a tool, and just sort of repeating what you guys have said, that don't forget about human connection. Be curious. Learn something new, and remember that it's a process. No one is born an expert overnight. And yes, there are tools. It's not just AI, but there's tools, there's technology that can help us. But I think it's about being in that moment, being curious, being part of that process. I'm learning drumming for the first time, which is very exciting. I've not used AI to help me at all. And yes, I get frustrated when I can't read the music, or I can't get a rhythm, or there's something that's just not going right. But that's just part of the process. Like when I first got into SEO, when I was first writing content, crikey, when I did my first podcast episode, if I listen back to that, I'm probably going to cringe. But we're not born experts. Yes, there's tools. Yes, there's technology that we can use to help us, but it's about just being part of that process and being kind to ourselves. Fabulous. Is there any more on this topic before we open? Yeah?
I was going to say we can open up to the
We can
audience,
open.
yeah.
So, as a reminder, anyone who wants to ask a question or share or whatever they want to do, you get a free book. So if we can have the house lights up, Tom. Oh, That's fun to say, isn't it? Can we have the house mics?
Ooh, hello, we can see you all now.
So if you want to pop up your hand, and
I've got a lovely pink microphone.
we've got a lovely pink microphone. I think we've got a hand up just at the front there.
Come on down.
So what's your favourite use of LLMs in your day-to-day work?
Oh, good question. You go for it first, Tasmin.
I mean, favourite's a strong word. So the reflection piece that I did, which I was talking about, I enjoyed that. I really did enjoy that. And I would not have... It would have taken me a very long time to come up with what it did. The other thing I enjoyed the other day was we're trying to eat more plant points in our diet. So I said, we're a family of this many, and we want to incorporate 30 plant points in our week. And I gave it an outline of what sort of foods we liked and what we didn't, and that was very useful.
So you're going useful, not so much fun.
No, it was enjoyable. Yeah.
Enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
What are plant points?
So, I mean, do you really want me to... I can talk to you about that later, unless anybody else wants to know what a plant...
People want to know
Go
what
on,
plant
Tasmin.
points are.
We're here for the Plant Points podcast. There we go. There you go.
Smart. Very, very smart.
Very good. So the idea is that you should be eating a variety of plants. So it can be a fruit, it can be a vegetable, it can be a whole grain, nuts, and the idea is you try and get 30 different plant points or plants in your menu, in your weekly consumption each week.
Does AI ever get it wrong?
No, I mean, I think it can count to 30 and different. It's quite good like that.
Like, cheese is my favourite plant. What a great question, Tasmin.
But no, it's good.
Yeah, good. Okay, so we're all going to be working on our plant points by the sounds of it. Jack?
For me, it is the thing I mentioned earlier, doing timestamps for the podcast. Just like taking that effort out of like having to pick the exact second of, okay, so 10 minutes and 15 seconds, Sarah switched to this topic, then Jack asked this question at 12 minutes. That's such a time-consuming process. The fact that I can kind of automate that and still check it, bear in mind, I don't just let it, then click publish. But those moments where it is so time-consuming to do a manual task, if I can automate that just a little bit to make my job a little bit easier, that is the most common thing I do, is those kind of like show notes, summaries, all that kind of stuff. If I have existing content from a video or a podcast or something like that, getting that summary, timestamp, recommendation-y kind of stuff is where I use it most.
Yeah. I mean, I said earlier that I used Claude with my pizza orders.
But your favourite use of Claude is?
Pizza.
How many pizzas?
How many pizzas? But yeah, because there was lots of data, lots of variables, lots of bits that my brain couldn't compute, so I just gave it to Claude. So that, yeah, if there's lots of data or I just need help thinking of how to tackle a problem, so using it as, I don't know, like someone to help me look through data, look for patterns, sounding board. And then another thing is, so shock horror, I'm a bit blabby. I can go on a bit.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Welcome to the podcast. So, but there's times where I need to write a message that's more concise, or I need to write something that's more, not strict, but what's the word that's not strict?
Assertive.
Assertive. Yes. So depending on context, because I love an emoji, I love fluff, I love all of that, but sometimes other people don't like that. People just want to know the information. So there has been times where I've sort of brain farted, that was horrible, onto whatever, this is what I want to say, and then I put it into Claude and say, can you make this more concise? Can you make this more assertive? Can you make sure that this makes sense? So those are some ways that I would use it.
Lovely. Anybody else got any questions? Any hands up?
Oh, we got a few. Who are you going to go for? Who are you going to go?
First. Sorry, Chris, I'll give you your book. And I'll bring another mic around. Come down. from this side.
We need some music, don't we?
Maybe some elevator music would be useful. So about the burnout and disassociation with AI, how would you advise people that are being forced to use AI by companies? Because companies are not placing people with AI. So if you're not using AI in your company, you're gonna go probably. So how do people who have to use AI on a daily basis in companies end up being at the end of the workday not still using it because they're used to using it for everything? How would you what advice would you give those people? Because it's a bad situation.
Yeah, so where you're sort of, you don't really want to use it, but you're having to use it, or you're becoming...
Your boss is forcing you to use AI.
I mean, get a new job? I don't know.
It's easy to say, Sarah.
Easy to say, sorry, sensible question. Who wants to tackle?
I think there's an example, like I said, from my friend who was talking about their CEO was kind of like, oh, it's my lawyer, it's my doctor, all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, sure. And then also being like, yeah, you have to do it to create... Everyone should be integrating AI into their workflow as like a message they sent out on the Teams messages. And it's like, okay, yeah, everyone's being... as you said, they're either being forced to use it, right? And I think there is an element of trying to integrate it, and there are trying to kind of keep the bosses happy in many ways. But I think there are also ways to have that conversation of actually it's better if I do it this way, or actually if it's better if I do it that way. But yeah, I think Tasman mentioned it earlier as well, it's not going anywhere. As much as I think a lot of people are predicting the AI bubble will burst, probably not any time necessarily soon. So we are going to be having to integrate it into our workflow a lot. So think about the ways in which you can use it where it doesn't compromise your values, compromise your morals, doesn't impact the quality of your work. And you can hopefully have that conversation with your manager, with your boss, where it's I can see it help me in these ways, but I don't think I should be using it for this part of my job.
Another way to look at it as well is if there's any jobs that you really don't like doing, or... Because there's always that one task or a couple of tasks or a couple of jobs that you have to do, but you don't have any enjoyment. So maybe you can use the tool for that element of your job, but the bits of your job that you really enjoy because you get to be creative or you get to deep dive into data. I suppose it's about cherry picking what you use it for, because you still want to enjoy your job, and if there's certain elements of your job that you really enjoy doing, I wouldn't necessarily get AI to do that. So I would what don't you like to do, or what takes up a lot of time, or what is a head sore that you can farm off to AI, but then keep what you have enjoyment out of. Tasman, what do you reckon?
Did we answer your question? Did you then say something like that when you go home you don't want to use it?
Yeah, people burning out from using AI at work.
Yeah.
Go to it as people because they've been using it for years.
So, sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to ask again. So when you are at home, you don't want to use it, but you find you have to.
Well, some people, because they've been using it all day, all week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Since you've been in it all day,
Yeah.
dissociated from your coworkers, from everything, you come back home and you still kind of go to it as a default option.
Yeah. I think with the burnout element, it is finding ways to alleviate that burnout, to try and reduce it, and to be really conscious of, okay, what is it that I need? We were talking about, you were saying about being philosophical. I feel that we have just got into a society that values the things that you do and the way that you think. It's all about your body and your mind. You're more than that. You have feelings, you have a heart, you have a soul, you have character. And although these words feel alien in this setting, I think that's a scary part, that they have become alien. They weren't alien in the past. People understood the human being much better than we are now. We are just valuing what we are able to do. And sometimes they'll say, oh, your mindset. And yes, those are important. I'm not saying that they're not important. But when we work hard and harder and harder and harder, and we get to that end line, wherever that end line is, and you don't feel good, well, you're not going to feel good because you never put your feelings into the equation when you went down that route. But how you feel is important. Who you become is important. And for you, whatever the impact of your work day is having on you, connect with yourself and say, okay, what do I need? Do I need to be out in nature? Do I need to speak to a friend? What do I need to recharge? And I really hope that as an industry, we have gone beyond thinking self-care is having, going on a spa day. This is really important stuff. I can't stress enough how important it is. We are becoming nervous wrecks. We have now courses at brightonSEO about how to regulate your nervous system after you've burnt out. How about we just don't burn out in the first place by not ignoring that stuff?
It's about the self-awareness. I mean, yes, very, very good points there. And I suppose it's about not ignoring what your body's trying to tell us, because there's so many times that before I get poorly or before I feel like I've got no energy left in the tank, your body gives you signs, doesn't it? Before you hit that point where you just need to be horizontal and can't do anything, your body would have been giving you little signs, little nudges of, oh, you're pushing yourself a bit too much. And it's hard because, in this society where we're measured on productivity, it is really hard. But this is where having boundaries in place. So if you want to get out of the habit of using AI because you've used it all day, so a boundary of mine, sometimes it doesn't always work, but I try and not look at emails past 5:30, or I don't look at emails until 8:30 in the morning. If I go on holiday, I don't take my laptop. So there's certain things that you can physically do to help. And maybe it's the same with AI. So maybe you make a promise to yourself that in the evening, it's an AI-free zone. And if you've got a question, have a conversation with someone or have a think about it. Someone made a really good point that, they reckon that conversations that happen in pubs aren't as interesting as they used to be, because back before the internet, no one really knew the answers, so people were just, having a go, answering. So maybe we just need to switch off, not be on our phones, not be so attached to technology. It is hard, but once you put those boundaries in place and you start seeing that it's actually helping you, and you can do stuff as well. Like Tasman said, what does your body need? Do you need to go out in nature? Do you need to physically read a book? Do you need to go and learn to play the drums? Whatever it is, if you can get yourself to actually have a break, it will give yourself a chance to have a breather as well, won't it?
And I think it's maybe flipping it, rather than saying, oh, I won't do this and I won't do that. Talk about what you do want to do. I do want to spend time here. And make it a routine. So my husband, the other day he said to me, what is this me time? Everybody's talking about me time. I need me time. And I said, that's because you've already got me time. You go cycling with your buddies 3 times a week. You go for shisha once time. You've got plenty of me time, and you didn't even ask for it.
You don't need any more me time.
But you don't. You really, really don't. But what's really great about this scheduling, and we talk about boundaries.
Healthy.
So I know on Fridays he will go for shisha around about 8 o'clock. I'm return, and he will go for his badminton at 3:30. So I already know his schedule. I will plan my return back home according to that because I want to lift from the station. When people get used to, Jordan's nodding, Jordan always does this at this time, therefore I will not bother him at that time. And the more you get used to you having that schedule and other people doing it, there's no such thing as boundaries. It's there.
It's very, very true. Very, very true. Hopefully we've answered your question.
Any more questions? Any more hands up? A couple more?
Oh, we've got a few. You're getting your steps soon,
I am,
Jack.
yeah. I come close.
Me and Tasman are just sitting here not helping at all.
Who is it here? I'll give you that. Give you a mic, give you a book.
Thank you for the mic.
Sorry.
So the question is, thinking about how useful this kind of technology claims that it is, can this technology truly continue to be profitable if it answers more questions than it raises? Or is it designed to make us reliant on an abundance of information to make even really small decisions?
Oh, that's a very good point. Can you say it again?
So thinking about how useful AI is being framed
Yes.
as, can AI continue to be considered profitable from a company perspective if it answers questions so well rather than raising additional questions within yourself during that process? Or is it designed to make you reliant on an abundance of information to make even very small decisions?
I think the companies want us to rely on it more, right? Tasmin mentioned earlier, you get these, huge tech companies that want us to rely on all of this stuff and use it more and more and more and de-skill ourselves and get very sort of post-apocalyptic about it. But I think you're totally right that there is a element of it just answering the questions and not actually giving you that critical thinking skills. One of the data points I didn't mention was critical thinking that came up as one of the related topics. And the reason I said be skeptical, stay curious, always ask these questions. I think what you're alluding to there is understanding how to ask questions, when to ask questions, who to ask questions to, is a skill in and of itself, rather than just how do I get the answer. Maybe you're asking the wrong questions. And I think you're totally right. There is talking about it in a, super capitalistic, very, huge corporation kind of way. People like Sam Altman, people like Sundar Pichai from Google, they want us to rely more and more on their technology so they can monetize us. They're adding ads to ChatGPT. They're adding ads into AI mode in Google, and AI mode is probably, I've been predicting this for about 18 months now, going to be the default search mode before long. So we are more reliant on that technology than ever before so they can monetize us. I'm going to use the word again. It's in shitification of products, right? The more they can get us to use those products, the more reliant on it we are, the worse it can be before we are kind of pushed away from it. It's like, ChatGPT is terrible, but there's no other alternatives. I'm so integrated into that now. I don't really want to get rid of it, but it is really bad. That's kind of how these companies get us when, we had a monopoly in search from Google for 25 years, essentially. Kind of a little bit of a wiggle and a wobble at the moment. But I think when these companies get us to over-rely on these technologies, we end up in their pockets. We end up being kind of driving their revenue in many ways as well.
Tasman?
I'm going to start off by saying I'm not a cynical person.
I am, don't worry. Got you covered, Tasman.
Taking a step back, society for decades now has put most of us in a situation where as long as we are busy enough doing whatever it is we're doing and comfortable enough not to ask questions about what else is happening, that's a good place for us to be. That's where higher up people want us to be. And you only have to look at what's going on in the world to realize that actually if we are too busy to try and do anything about it, what does that say about society at large?
Very true. We're getting very deep here. And
We got time for one last question, do you think?
yes. Yeah.
Anybody want to?
Right at the back,
Right at the
Jack.
back. Right at the back.
Get
I'll
there.
come round. Hold on. I'll go get a book as well. Don't worry, I'll get my steps in. Yes, sir.
Oh, I got it. You got it. Did you want it? I don't know if it's a question or not. I just wanted to, because it's ironic you've got a stack of books in front of you. I just wanted to talk about books. Because, you know, weirdly, books can't be crawled by language models, but they're all around us. Do you think there might be a resurgence or comeback to books? You know, just an open discussion.
Yes. So, I mean, let's see in the room. Can I get a cheer? Who actually reads a physical book? Who likes to hold a book? Okay, there's a lot. Okay, who prefers to listen? Who prefers an audio book? Okay, so we're all. So can someone, whoever's feeling like they want to share, what is it about the actual book? What is it that you actually like? Jack, go to whoever. It's really hard to see, isn't it? Need some sunglasses on.
I like scribbling all over my books. I know people hate that, but I like making lots of notes.
That was a very strong reaction, crowd. Very strong reaction. Why else are we enjoying real books?
I feel like it keeps me actually reading. Like if I'm on my Kindle, it's like a real book, so I'm stuck in it. My ADHD is it's so easy to just get distracted by something else, and if I'm listening or watching, it's so easy to just do something else. But when you're reading, you have to read.
Yes, that's a very, very good got books on my mind. Very, very good point, because I have tried both listening and reading, and it actually goes in more when I'm reading, because like you say, that is the one job you're doing, whereas as soon as you're listening to something, you're like, oh, I've got my hands free, I can go and do the washing, I can go and do some drumming, whatever you want to do. So yes, that's a very, very good point, that it actually gets you engaged, doesn't it? Is there anything else that people like about a book?
So I'm just going to start by saying that books can be crawled. 100%. But what I actually find quite interesting when holding a book and actually reading it is that feeling of grounding myself and living in the moment. I do listen to audibles a lot. I've got Stephen Fry's voice in my head on and again. I listen to the Harry Potter books before I go to bed. But it's just nothing compares to actually holding the book and just, I know it sounds a bit like almost romantic, if you like, or I don't know, melancholic or whatever, but it just makes me think of a nicer time. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can tell my age now, I guess, but it's just the grounding, the living in the moment. That's it. Anyone else?
Fabulous. I mean, I could just keep this going. One more. Who else wants to share why? There's a lady right at the front. Sorry, Jack, I'm making you...
Yeah, so I wanted to say that there is a multifaceted approach to when we talk about books and holding them. So you trigger multiple sides of your brain. You have the tactile element, you have the memory element, you have the visual element, you have the... so for me, for example, I do see images when I read, so that's another part of my brain working at the same time. And you also have the idea of where within the book you are. So when you hold a book, you physically know which part of the story you're at. Are you in the start? What's going to happen? Are you at the end? What did you miss? Is there a plot twist? Will there be a cliffhanger? Is there going to be a second book? And then your brain is working on so many levels when you're reading a physical book compared to listening something. Or even with Kindle, yeah, it's much closer, and you do see like the little slider down there showing you what part of the book you're at, but it's not really visible, it's not really tactile. But yeah, that's something I wanted to emphasize, that there are multiple ways to consider reading a book. It's the emotional, but then there is the brain part of it. Like, what are you perceiving? What is your memory doing? What is your physical body doing?
very true. There's lots of different elements going on. And I suppose my brain's just gone somewhere different. You know, when you find a typo or something that's wrong in a book as well, you're like, oh, I found that one in there. But yeah, anyway, so I suppose what we're saying is that when you actually have a physical book, it's a much heightened, better experience. Jack and Tasmin, what do you like about a physical book?
I just want to say I love that. I love what you shared. And what it made me remember was when we are trying to focus on something, it says the more senses that you can use when you're doing that thing, the more you're going to be able to focus. And that's going to work with a physical book, right? For all of the reasons that you have just said. I really love that.
Yes, fabulous. Right. I know that time flies when you're having fun. Can you believe it's 9:05? Jack, just share your quick thoughts on the actual book.
I like a Kindle personally. Well, I got a Kobo, a knockoff thing a little while ago. But yeah, I think somebody in the audience mentioned ADHD being very full of distractions, and life is full of distractions, and trying to do something on your phone. And you mentioned, Sarah, like, if you use an audiobook, you end up doing the washing or walking the dog and doing other things as well. Actually sitting down and focusing on one thing at a time and having the book there in front of you, seeing that progress, feeling grounded actually helps me focus so much more. I've done a thing a couple of times. This is a fun little trick if you want to try it, is listen to the audiobook as you're reading. There's like a little narration kind of thing. Some people do that as well. I've tried that a couple of times. You have to get the speed right, bear in mind. But yeah, I found that really helps sometimes as well.
Fabulous. So unfortunately, I said fabulous again. Sorry, Tasman. I'll find another word. I don't know what it's going to be.
Fantabulous? Does that still count?
Fantabidozy.
There you go.
There we go. So we're going to have to wrap up, aren't we? Because, as much as we're all enjoying ourselves. So thank you very much for coming and listening to our live podcast. It is a live podcast, so that means that it is being recorded and will be available to listen to on the SEO Mindset podcast and the Search With Candour podcast afterwards. Who you choose, it's up to you. I won't fall out with you if you want to listen to Jack, but
I will fall out with you if you pick the SEO Mindset, so yeah.
Oh, fighting talk. We just want to say another big shout out to our sponsors again. So that is Systrix, Majestic, Sitebulb and Good Signals. So a round of applause.
Woo!
Thank you very much. And we've got the space until whenever, really. I mean, you're
Don't
looking
tell people that.
Well, yes. Yeah, not very good with boundaries there. But there might be some pizza left over. The bar is open. So carry on mingling, carry on conversations. No one get ChatGPT or Claude out. Actually have conversations with each other, yeah? And yes, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Search has changed, but most strategies haven't. If you're still measuring success purely on rankings and clicks, you're missing where real decisions are happening. Previsible helps brands understand and grow their visibility across AI platforms so you're not just present, you're chosen. If you want to see where your brand stands and how to build trust in AI-driven search today, visit previsible.io.